Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Victoria. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And so I'm going to share my screen just to get started and show you my presentation on self-love. That's what we're here today to talk about, and why I'm just absolutely excited to share with you. I want to share with you why I'm so excited and what makes me so excited to share this topic with you. So, self love. I'm Victoria. I am a substance use therapist here in North Dakota in the United States. I'm a coach, I'm a healer. I create programs with mental fitness with the sole mission and purpose to help people heal from addictions. My license is specific for substance use addictions, but my life work is really healing addictions in all ways, and the healing escapism, right? Anytime that we have an addiction to something, whether it's coffee, video games, social media, substances, alcohol, it's all ways to escape from emotions. And so that's my work. That's my life work. And one of the foundations, and one of the insights that I discovered along the way was almost everyone that I have come across that has addictions and struggles with addictions, they don't truly love themselves. They don't really love themselves at a deep core. There's a lot of judgment, a lot of guilt and shame along the way, which just perpetuates that cycle of addictions and wanting to escape that feeling, right? And so I am the CEO of Holistic Recovery Services. So I get to do this work in my own way, and in a way that feels good for me, in a way that feels good for my spirit and my heart, and really get to follow my soul purpose and follow my mission. And so I'm here today to talk to you about self-love. And what I love so much about talking about this topic is because I was there, right? I got into drugs and when I was a teenager and into my 20s, and it was not until a few years ago that self-love came around. And the first time I heard about self-love, about, gosh, probably 5 years ago, I was like, what? I was so confused. And then I heard more about like having a relationship with yourself and loving yourself as if you're in a relationship with yourself. And it was so confusing to me. The concept was just so foreign. And so I went on a journey, right? Like most of us healers do. Our journey begins with our own healing. And so, I dove deep into what that means. And at first, it was very much um, the self healing, self love in a mental way, right? And then it became a spiritual way. And that's when the doors flew wide open into all of my healing. I mean, on multiple levels. And so now, really I get to share with you and get to share with the world that self-love, it became just something that was a concept, but through spirituality it became reality. It became the key to so many things, and that's what I'm here to share with you, is how that is so important, how self-love is so important to everything and anything. And so, yeah, we'll start with, what is self-love? So, self love is having an opinion of the self that is unconditional. I mean, there is no judgment, there's no negativity, there's just unconditional love and acceptance for ourselves, right? And what can come up right now is, in your mind, might be coming up is that, well, how do I grow if I'm not being real with myself, right? How do I grow if I'm not willing to judge my behavior and judge what I'm doing and how it's affecting myself and others? And that's a valid point. It's a super valid point. I mean, that's how my inner voice justified all the negative judgments that I made for so many years of my life, is like, well, if I'm honest with myself about who I am, then I can grow, right? And I can be better. But there's a difference between judgment and discernment. And judgment is where it takes it into another level of guilt and shame, whereas discernment is like a matter of fact type of statement, where it's really about this is my choice, this was the choice I made, and these were the consequences that happened, these were the consequences to myself and to others. But it's not with and I'm a bad person, or I feel so guilty, like it's crushing me, that I feel so guilty that I made this decision, right? So discernment is looking at the situation with love and care and compassion, and being honest with ourselves, but not with the added judgments of negativity and shame and guilt, and the additional weight and heaviness. That is what is harmful. So the opposite of self-love is not self-hate. It's actually fear, because there are only two basic emotions that we experience as humans, and one is love and one is fear. And so fear is the opposite of love. And fear often is fear of failure, fear of rejection, and fear of not being good enough. And we often find, we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but we often find that our inner judgment voice, it often resembles the caregivers in our life, right? Our parents, maybe our grandparents, or maybe a teacher that judged us and like told us, though, this is not good enough, and this is not appropriate behavior, and this is bad behavior. And so oftentimes that's what our inner voice looks like, is a combination of the caregivers in our life that tried to teach us, right? They were trying to teach us, and so we adopted those behaviors, those judgments, and those criticisms within ourselves, and then we build on them, right? They became foundations. And so self-love is also knowing that I'm enough, I am worthy, and I'm deserving always, no matter what. I can make a decision, a mistake, and knowing that I'm still worthy of love, I'm still worthy of giving another chance. I'm worthy of giving myself another chance. I'm worthy of forgiveness, right? And it all comes back to ourselves. Whether someone else forgives us for a mistake or not, we have to give that to ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves, because we live with ourselves 24/7, all the time, right? So just imagine if you lived with a partner, and maybe some of you have or are, I don't know, but imagine living with a partner that their constant criticism, constant judgment, constant negativity about who you are and what you are, and how draining that really is. We do that. We're doing that to ourselves in our own mind, when we carry these judgments and we carry this criticism within us. So it's really important to talk about self-love, to free ourselves from that, and have this relationship with ourselves that is loving and beautiful, and teaches us what love truly is and what unconditional love truly is. All right, so why is self-love important? Because it's the foundation of everything. Self-love is how I love others as well. During my journey, I have a child, he's 12 now. And during my journey, I really discovered that I wasn't showing him love like I wanted to. I wanted to show and be a certain type of parent for him, and I wasn't doing that. And I could try as much as I wanted to change my behavior and to act differently and to be a better parent. And I was improving, but it wasn't until I started really loving myself and defining what unconditional love really is for myself, before I finally started to make a significant shift in the relationship with my child and with others, with everyone in my life. And so it's the foundation of everything. I mean, when I love myself better, then I love others better. When I love myself, I'm not going to self sabotage. I'm not going to make choices that are hurting me or hurting my life or getting in the way of the goals, right? I have so many goals, and all of us have life goals and things that we're going towards that we want in our life. And when we self sabotage, we're getting in our own way and we don't even know it, right? We don't even know that we're sabotaging ourselves until we start loving ourselves. And we're like, why did I do that? That didn't help me in my goals, right? That's self-sabotage. And when I start loving myself, I allow what's meant for me. I allow what universe and God, however, whatever word you want to put on it, when I allow the things that are meant for me to come into my existence, I am loving myself. Until I love myself, I don't allow those things. I don't allow love to reach me if I don't love myself already and I don't know that I'm deserving and worthy of those things, right? I protect my body from poisons. I mean, this is something that I talk about frequently with my clients that abuse substances is when you love yourself, you don't even want to use, right? You don't even want to use when you love yourself. That toxin you don't even want to ingest. And so it's healing. Self-love is healing in all ways. It heals everything. I take care of myself. I heal codependency. I heal toxic relationships. When I love myself, I won't even enter toxic relationships. I can see that a connection is toxic when I love myself enough, and I love myself enough to see that it's toxic, and I love myself to walk away when it's toxic. When it's no longer, when it doesn't feel good, then I know it. And I'm willing to say, nope, sorry, that's not what I want in my life experience. And I have the discipline to meet my goals. If I love myself, I love my future self. And we'll talk more about that later too. Self love is a magnet to everything. When we love ourselves, we magnetize every opportunity that is meant for us in our lifetime. We are attracting it, right? Not chasing, we are attracting. We don't have to do much. When we love ourselves, it doesn't take much for opportunities and beautiful experiences to come into our existence. All right. If anyone is familiar with Abraham Hicks, I absolutely love her and him channeling. And I just love all of the law of attraction type work that they do. And so it is the foundation of my motivations for a lot of things, because when I'm doing my own work, my own healing work, when I'm teaching others, if we are in a frequency of self-love, then we are in a frequency of love that's going to receive all the love that we're meant to have, right? But this slide particularly, what I wanted to just show is that there's a difference, this difference between love, the two basic emotions are love and fear. And love is all of the emotions in that upward spiral that feel good, that give us energy, that help us attract more into our life. And fear, all of the anger, the worry, jealousy, insecurities, that all comes from fear. I mean, if you think about where does jealousy come from, right? Fear of losing someone. Insecurities, it's fear of not being good enough, right? Like all of these emotions that are in this downward spiral are fear. And when we are in a place of fear, then we can attract what we want, right? We attract what we don't want, because that's how law of attraction works. We attract what we are and what we're vibrating at. And so being in a state of love and starting with self-love opens up the door for all the beautiful experiences and all the beautiful emotions that we love to feel, right? All of them are natural. All of them are normal. It's not that we're trying to eliminate fear, but we are definitely trying to release that fear so that we can live mostly in love, right? And starting with ourselves is most important. Okay, so I have a little practice, a little assessment that we can do about self-love, because here my own experience was that when I was in a place of love, when I was not in a place of love, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that I did not love myself, right? Like the whole concept of self-love was foreign to me. And my first reaction was, well, I don't hate myself, right? Like, and I'm still, it was, and again, you don't have to hate yourself in order to not be loving yourself, right? Because it comes back to fear of not being good enough and fears. And so this is a great assessment to just evaluate, like, where are you at in this self-love journey, right? And just wanting to share that the self-love journey is a place that we're all in our wherever we're at, right? There's no right or wrong to where we are or where someone else is. Self-love, like with all journeys in our life, we are on our own path. And so wherever you're at, just make sure you give yourself that compassion and that love of it's okay, wherever you're at, it's okay. So how does your inner voice talk to you? When you make mistakes, right? What does your inner voice say? Does it say, wow, you're really stupid? Why did you do that? That was dumb. Is that how you talk to yourself? Are you like a cheerleader in your mind, right? Self-love is like a cheerleader, like, hey, you made a mistake, but that's okay. We're learning and we're growing, and this is awesome, right? I mean, what does that inner voice look like? So just think about that for a minute. What does that inner voice look like? And if you're not always aware of what that inner voice is and what it sounds like, that's okay. It's just something to pay attention to now, right? Something to be aware of. Another question that can prompt, where your self-love is at in your journey is, how do you talk about yourself to other people? And this is kind of connected to the next one. How easy is it to accept compliments from others? If somebody gives you a compliment about a project or something that you've done, what's your response? Do you start nitpicking it? Do you start saying, oh, well, I'm not really happy with that part, and this was really frustrating, and this was really challenging? And do you start nitpicking it and nitpicking yourself, right? Is your response to be negative about yourself and not really accept that compliment and receive that compliment? So yeah, something to think about, because people that love themselves, they allow other people to love them too. They allow other people to share words of affirmation with them and say, hey, great job. And they're like, yeah, it was a great job. Thank you. Right? How do you judge others? A really great practice to do is write down a list of all the things that drives you nuts about other people, that you don't like about other people, that makes you angry or upsets you about other people. Write all them down, and then there's your shadows. That is all the parts of you, yourself, that you reject. All the things that you don't like about other people are all the pieces of yourself that you reject and that you don't like, and that you hate, or that you judge, and that you want to change, right? That you deny that you have. So that might be a wake-up call for you. So how you judge others is often how we judge ourselves. When we have this voice that judges the judge itself, right? The judge within us, that judges ourselves or judges others, it uses the same filter of judgment for our own behavior and other people's behavior. And then how do you take care of yourself? Do you shower regularly? Are you brushing your teeth? Are you eating healthy food? Are you eating nutritious food? Are you drinking enough water? I mean, nobody's perfect, right? None of us are perfect. But what does that look like? Are you taking care of yourself most of the time? Are you using any substances that are toxic to your body, right? Are you eating organic food because organic is going to not give you toxins too, right? It's organic is healthier. So are you taking care of yourself? Are you able and are you willing to make the decisions that take care of you and take the best care of you, right? Often we want to find a partner, we want our partner to treat us so well and treat us so beautifully, but yet, are we doing that for ourselves? Are we showing up for ourselves in the same way that we want someone else to show up for us? Right. It's important to look at. And then what do you carry guilt and shame about? Because when you're carrying around guilt and shame about past behaviors, you're not loving yourself, you're not forgiving yourself. So when I asked that question, if you had a whole list of things that you were like, oh, I don't forgive myself for that, and I don't forgive myself for that yet, and I'm feeling guilty about that still, then all of those things are ways that you're not loving yourself, that you're not forgiving yourself. So I'm curious where you feel you're at, right? Like, where are you? Are you loving yourself mostly? What percentage is that, right? Are you loving yourself 80% of the time? Is it more like 50-50? Is it more like 20% of the time? I'll be honest that when I first started learning about self-love, now I can reflect on it now, right? I told you like back then I didn't even know that I didn't love myself, but now that I can reflect back on it, I probably was loving myself like 10% of the time. There was so much judgment, so much negativity about myself. And it was just this drive to be better and work harder and, just achieve and be better and grow. It was that I had definitely had a growth mindset, but I was held back by it was always coming from a place of not feeling good enough. And instead of, I want to be better because I just want to grow and I love myself exactly the way I am, right? Like that's self-love is I'm growing and going to continue to grow and I know how I want to grow and in what ways, but I absolutely adore and love myself right now too, right? That's important to self-love. Okay, let's do a heart opening meditation. So, the heart is a beautiful space in the body, right? And we know that it's not just our physical heart that's beating blood through our body, right? It's also our heart space and the area and the chakra itself, the heart chakra itself creates this energy field, right? And it goes far beyond even what the energy field of our mind goes. And so when we open our heart and we create space and we create and expand that energy field outward, then other people can feel the love that we have and that we have for ourselves and that we have for life and for them. And that feels fantastic. Have you ever met somebody that you're just like, wow, I just love your energy, right? Or they're walking sunshine and they just feel like beautiful people to be around, right? That's because their heart chakra is wide open. They're not afraid to share love. They're not afraid to be loved, right? So that's what we're going to practice is opening our heart space today. So I want you to start with both hands over your heart space. So the palms of the hands are like the polar opposites of a battery, right? So when you connect them, they create current and they create energy flow. And energy flow is healthy and healing, right? Stagnant energy is what is dis-ease. So I want you to start with both of your hands. Now, you can put your hands directly on your chest and physically touching your chest, or if it feels better to be a little farther away, where our aura is quite far out from our body. So whatever feels good for you, if it feels better to be closer, if it feels better to be farther away. And sometimes, depending on how sensitive you are, you can actually feel what your body and what your aura wants based on the palms, your palms, how they feel. You can feel heat, you can feel some pressure, some tingling. So just play with it. Find that place that just feels good for you to bring in that energy battery to your heart space. So I want you to just imagine, close your eyes, just imagine that your palms are feeding energy into your heart space and moving it around, cleansing and clearing it out. And that energy is just coming out of your heart space. It's flowing out. It's creating energy movement going out the back of your, in middle of your back, coming out your chest, flowing outwards. And any negative, stagnant energy is just transmuted to love, loving the experiences. Now, I want you to focus on your shoulders and open your shoulders and bring them down a little, just opening that heart space even more. You can move your palms around if that feels good, as long as your palms are pointed towards your chest and your intention is to cleanse and heal and open. Take a deep breath. Another slow, deep breath, exhaling all the air out of your lungs. Now, I want you to imagine that there is roots growing out of the bottom of your feet, the soles of your feet into the earth. And I want you to imagine that you receive and give energy to earth through these roots. And you are giving Mother Earth all of that stagnant energy in your body. And you're allowing Mother Earth to bring back this loving, beautiful energy that she has for us. Very grounding energy. And all of that loving energy from Mother Earth comes up into your heart space. And it can have a color, it can, whatever that looks like for you. Whatever that looks like for you is correct. And then I want you to imagine that there's this beam of light that's coming from the stars that comes down through your crown of your head and comes down and meets in your heart, meets this energy with Mother Earth and just swirls around and just opens this space, creates energy and more love, love from the heavens, from the stars, from the universe, love from Mother Earth, all meeting right in the middle. That is you. All this love is sitting here available for you, and you feel loved. Take a deep breath. Mm. Mm. Just feel that love. You're right. And it's just going to stay. That love will stay. Mother Earth is always here to love you. The stars and the universe is always here to love you. And when you open up to that love, then you can be that love. You can become that love. You can give yourself that love. Just imagine Mother Earth loving you and you becoming how Mother Earth loves you, right? How the stars love you, how universe loves you, and you adopt that view, right? You adopt that view of how adorable and beautiful and divine that you really are. You walk around your everyday life with all that self-love. Another deep breath and we'll be done. All right. When you're ready, come on back. I hope that was beautiful for you. I was feeling that. Oh my goodness. And I wanted to share, I meant to share earlier, but I have some quantum biofeedback frequencies that are getting shared with everyone about self-love and that's watching this. So if you want that, if you're okay with those frequencies, then just set that intention. If you don't, that's okay too. Just set that intention and you won't receive that. All right. Coming back to our presentation. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the dimensions of self-love. So we talked a little bit about, our past self and forgiving ourselves for some of our mistakes in the past. So the dimensions of self-love are loving our past and our present and our future. And so we do this in different ways, right? Loving our past self, loving our past versions of ourselves, because at any moment, we are all of the things, right? We are our past versions of ourselves within our mind and our heart, right? We are that 5-year-old girl or that 5-year-old boy or that 12-year-old girl. They're always within us, right? And so when we love and appreciate and give so much attention and just appreciation for that past version of ourselves, then we are giving love to our current self because our current self is all of them, right? So inner child healing is really helpful for self-love, and doing shadow work, very similar. And just offering ourselves forgiveness, right? Forgiveness for our past mistakes, forgiveness for things that we've done that we're just not proud of in our moments, right? But just still loving that version of ourselves because that version learns, right? Like any mistakes that we've ever made, that version learned from those mistakes. And now we don't do those things because that version of us was in the trenches learning the stuff, right? And so why judge that version of us, right? It's the past. We can't change it. Yes. But also like there's this place where we can be negative about ourselves or our past self. We can be neutral, like it's the past, I can't change it, which is kind of neutral, like, okay, I'm not beating up on myself. But the next step is that version of me was doing the best she could, right? And she learned a valuable lesson for us. And she learned something that was really important for my relationships now, is that I don't want to do that again, right? Like giving that love is the next step. It's not just, oh, I can't change the past. It's also, I love that version of me because I was doing the best I could. And she was so beautiful and she was trying so hard to get it right, and the mistakes she made, she just learned from. And that's a beautiful thing, right? That's very different than just, oh, well, I can't change it. Now, our present, right, this version of ourselves where we are grounded in the present moment. There are so many ways to love ourselves right now, right? We can love our life. We can love who we are. We can love and identify all their strengths in every day. We can take care of ourselves. We can choose things that make us happy. We can set boundaries with things that don't make us happy. Like there's so many ways to love ourselves. And we'll talk, there's a couple more slides. In a couple more slides, I'll bring up and mention those 5 love languages. And I think it's really important to, anytime that you read a book about relationships or anytime you learn something more about relationships, just have a moment where you're like, and what does this mean about the relationship, about myself? What can I learn? Not only am I learning about relationships for my kids and my partner, or people at work, or family, but I'm also learning about the relationship with myself. And I'm also learning how I can have a better relationship with myself by applying the things that work for relationships with others, right? So those 5 love languages. And also the present moment is honoring our needs and prioritizing our needs. If my need right now is I'm starving and I need food, really honoring that and saying, unless you're fasting, of course, if you're fasting, then fight it all you can. But if you're hungry, if you're thirsty, if you need to nap, right? Most of us don't have a life where we can just take a nap whenever we want to. But we do have the ability to close our eyes, to connect with earth through those roots in our feet, to connect with the heavens and the stars and the universe through our crown chakra, and for us to ground in our self-love, right? We don't have to take a nap to do that and to reset ourselves. And then loving our future self means being disciplined and holding space for goals. And we'll talk more about that in a little while too. So I have a journal prompt. So I hope you have some paper and pencil or pen. And we are going to do a little bit of inner child healing. And I love doing inner child healing and shadow work because, like I said, like in my time when I was not in a place of loving myself, I had so much guilt that I was carrying for choices that I made as a parent, for choices I made using drugs a long time ago, like choices I made with partners and in relationships. And I mean, I was carrying around so much. And so every time that something come up where I was feeling guilty and I was remembering some choice I made that I wasn't proud of, I went through this work of loving that version of myself and finding forgiveness for those moments. And every single time was a release. I literally felt a release. So I hope I gave you a moment to find your paper and pencil. And so think of a time that you felt neglected or hurt as a child. And this doesn't have to be a super intense traumatic experience. This can just be a memory, kind of mild to moderate memory. I definitely suggest, if you are working with some heavy trauma, if you're working with some really traumatic events, that you work with a therapist or a coach, or you have support with working through that shadow work. So just for safety, making sure that you're okay and that you have that support to work through that. All right. So thinking of that moment, what do you wish that you could tell them now? What do you wish you could tell that younger version of you now that you're older and you're wiser? What do you wish that you could say? How would you support them? How would you show up for them in a way that they didn't receive? That's called reparenting, showing up and giving yourself the love and care that you needed. Check in with that version of you and ask them, how do you want to be nurtured? Your inner child has so much information about things that you like, things that you enjoy doing. Asking them is really important. I'll give you a few minutes to just kind of reflect on that and journal. All right. Well, I hope that your inner child was willing to speak to you and willing to share with you what it is that your inner child would like. All right. Continue to work with that. The 5 love languages, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So, staying in the present moment, loving ourselves in the present moment means that we are actively practicing the 5 love languages for ourselves, right? Words of affirmation can be that cheerleader in our head that's like, you got this, we can do this, you can do this, right? It can be doing affirmations, positive affirmations, journaling positive affirmations. It can be choosing songs that talk about being a goddess or being powerful, being beautiful and empowering you, right? That can be absolutely words of affirmation. Those are things that you're bringing into your existence and you can shift and alter how you're thinking, right? Quality time. Are you taking quality time for yourself? Are you doing things by yourself if you want to, or having that time where you take yourself on a date, right? And spending time reading books and doing things that you love to do just for yourself, not for anybody else, right? Gifts. Do you buy yourself things? Do you do things for yourself, buy yourself things that you really like, right? Buying a new shirt or even buying yourself a haircut, right? Those are things that are gifts of self-care and self-love. Acts of service. I love acts of service. And some examples of acts of service for self love would be like giving myself a massage or even doing my laundry, putting my clothes away. I mean, I love when my clothes are all hung up so that I have a selection of all of my outfits. And if they're sitting in the laundry basket, if I put those clothes away, that's an act of service for my future self, right? That's a way that I can do something for myself in that moment. And then physical touch. Again, this could be a massage, but this could also be a hug, right? Giving yourself a big old hug. Try it. Try to give yourself a hug. I suggest it every day. See, that feels really good, right? If it felt weird, that's okay. All right. Love for your future self, discipline, and holding space for your dreams. So, there's a lot of ways that you can love your future self, right? And there's a lot of ways that you can do things now that honor and take care of your future self. These are just some examples. But self love is being all the things that you want in someone else, but you're giving it to yourself, right? Loving your future self is considering what your future self wants and needs and having the discipline to do those things, right? Like my future self wants to have a goal, like when I opened my business, right? My future self, I started a long time ago with my master's degree, going to school to open my own business as a private practice therapist, right? And there was a long time that I was serving my future self by going to school. School is one of the things where you don't really, you get the knowledge, you get, as you're going, you get knowledge, and that feels good. That's growth, and that feels good. And it's serving your future self, right? It's really primarily serving your future self to be able to do the thing that you want to do, if school is required for that anyway. There's a lot of other ways to do what you want, and having the discipline to meet your goals, that's the important point. And then holding space for your dreams. So, the reason I added this is because when we don't love ourselves, we can sabotage ourselves by not dreaming big enough or not dreaming at all, right? Like, have you ever met someone that they're just happy with where they are, but they're not really happy? Like, they say that they're happy, but you can tell that they're not really happy with their life. They're not really happy with how things are, but they're just dealing with it, right? They're just kind of riding life the way it is and not really having any goals or aspirations or anything that's driving them forward. Yeah, it's sad. And if that's you, then I just really hope that, this allows you to open your heart space to love your future, to love your life, and to love yourself enough to have goals and to have things in your future that you're excited about, that you're willing to get excited about, that you're willing to believe is possible for you. That's the really big part about holding space for your dreams, is knowing that if I have a dream, if there is a dream in my heart, there is a vision of my future, it is there for a reason. It is there because it's possible for me. It is there because it is achievable in this life, right? It's not there if it's not intended to be there, right? It's there for a reason. Let that, and that's one of the things about the heart space, is that when you let your heart guide you, sometimes, especially if we've had hurtful relationships and relationships that didn't work out, we can feel like, oh, well, I can't trust my heart. I can't trust my heart to guide me, and I can't trust my heart to navigate where I'm going, right? But every experience that we have has a purpose, and every experience that we have gives us a way to grow. And it can be karma. Karma's a bitch. It can be karma, right? And that sucks, but we can grow from that, right? And so when we allow our heart to guide us, and we do it with discernment, and we do it with self love first, right? If I love someone else more than I love myself, then it's codependent, and I am giving more than I'm thinking about what I need as well, right? Because if we are in a place of lacking self love, we're going to expect others to fill that void. And that's not healthy relationship. Healthy relationship is when we love ourselves and we overflow with love towards others, and others are able to receive that overflow of love from our heart, right? All right. Let's see. We are coming to the end. And so I really appreciate you being here with me for the last 50 minutes to talk about self love and to do the practices that I shared with you. And I just want to end with, why is self love important to you? What about this presentation and what in this presentation really made self-love important for you? And what are you taking with you? What's the golden nugget, right? So I just want you to think on that and to reflect on that. And I really, really so adore and appreciate that you've been here with me, and that you've been listening and learning and absorbing and receiving the love that I am meant to give today is how I'm feeling. And I'm feeling very grateful for this opportunity to share that with you. There is a self-love journal that is a giveaway for attending this presentation. So I'm excited for you to get that link and for you to receive that. And I have that here. So you can take that with you. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope that your why for self-love is motivating you enough to explore and do more in self-love journey. And it starts with opening your heart and forgiving yourself and doing all the things that make you feel happy in the moment and the best future, giving you the best future and guiding you towards your best future. Okay. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.